My talk, I think I'll just try and scroll through. I was really surprised to see that the talk I prepared really is probably not a bad summary of what we've heard today, and I'm encouraged that we're very similar in thinking. I think with respect to the future of the business, and so I've really titled my talk "A Tale of Two or More Cities," based upon the literary classic by Charles Dickens. And I'm going to flip through a few slides, and we'll see if we can find. Well, I want to go back. Anthony gave a very good overview of why democracy is so hard. The Bitcoin ecosystem is a prime example of that. One of the things I think people should be proud of is that it really is a democracy, and so there are disputes and people go their own ways, but ultimately, hopefully, they end up creating value. That remains to be seen. Maybe the brand has been damaged, but hopefully they can recover. Ethereum has had its own issues as well, and have split into two chains. Ethereum Classic is the lesser known cousin, continues along, and it remains to be seen again whether or not this will be the dominant ecosystem. I call the Ethereum system sort of a benevolent oversight program. The Ethereum founders pre-mined 72 million of the 105 million coins that exist out there, so they definitely have a strong bias and incentive to support the network, but also to drive things that certainly will benefit them. Hopefully, they continue to make the right choices. And we heard lots about scaling, and this presentation will be available on our website, and so you can read all about scaling. Where are we? This is sort of the interim Ethereum overlay of a proof of stake in parallel with proof of work. This architecture may or may not work, and it'll be an interesting year or the next two to see whether they can implement it. This is really the future of mining under proof of stake. Ethereum is really more a financial commitment. You post a security. They're suggesting it's as little as 32 Ether, which right now is about $4,500. Remains to be seen whether $4,500 at risk can prevent bad behavior. Computing power in a world like that, though, would look a lot more like Visa. Visa's current electrical demand for their servers is about 18 megawatts globally. POS system under Ether would fall out around 30 or 35 megawatts of miners, including 100% redundancy. This talks a little bit about validator income. Miners become validators under POS. So we heard today that there are really two tracks, proof of work, proof of stake. And if you believe proof of work is going to be a long-lasting platform, which it certainly seems to be sustaining itself, then miners have a future. If proof of stake becomes the standard, then mining will be much diminished as far as equipment and the types of players that will be involved in it. Scaling is important. I'm just trying to quickly flip through here because we're late. We also had Colin from BIR talk a little bit about alternative sources of revenue. My personal opinion is we're going to see permission blockchains grow far more rapidly than we'll see cryptocurrency space. And miners will really become what I would call a service industry. There's really no reason that a proof of work can't work similar to proof of stake with some kind of security posting. And we may get hybrid systems where we've got proof of stake, proof of work mining as well. So what kind of future do we hope to create? I thought this was kind of amusing. We've got the Future Path 1, which is the literary work of art by Dickens, with a very famous opening line. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Or we have the Simpsons version of the future, which could be a path.
This is 1,000 monkeys working in 1,000 factories. Soon, delivering the greatest novel known to man. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. You stupid monkey.
Hopefully we can do better than that. Well, I think it's important to know, really, blockchains are hoping to usurp sort of existing systems. The comparison to Visa is always an excellent one to use. If you look at Visa last year, they earned $20.6 billion on $11.2 trillion of transactions. Their operating costs were about $7.8 billion, so the shareholders of Visa happily pocketed about $12.5 billion. That's a lot of money, and that's why you've got the likes of Amazon, Facecoin, all kinds of different payment systems coming to fruition. If nothing else, it will reduce the margins of these payment companies. Potentially, some of that will be passed on to consumers, and let's hope it is. Mining is going to continue providing a framework for at least the near term. Proof of stake is going to take a long time to implement, I think, especially at a broad scale, and it may never arrive. And as I described, proof of work will continue to provide utility, I think, for a long time, and there's ample room to grow the market for sure. You'll note in the presentation when you have a chance to read it, I mean, if you had the most efficient miners on the Bitcoin system right now, the overall electrical demand would only be about 2,400 megawatts. That's a very small amount of electrical load on a global scale. You could certainly see it growing to in the range of 50 gigawatts or so, and that could be quite absorbed economically globally. And as I stated, I believe permission blockchains are going to be far more prevalent in the space, and miners need to I think transition a little bit more from basically gold mining mentality to utility service type of mentality, and that will be, I think, the biggest part of the industry going forward.